Okay, happy Sunday, guys. So today we're going to talk a little bit about kind of digging into our why. This is so important because this is what truly gets you out of bed, what keeps you up late, what's getting you to maybe say no to something so that you can, work your business, reach your goals. And so your why will help you be self-disciplined. So I'd love to hear in the chat if there has ever been a time in your business when you have felt not not disciplined, not self-disciplined. If that is you, I'd love to hear it in the chat. If there's been a time when you felt like, man, this is not as easy as I thought it was going to be, or I just don't feel like working my business today. I don't feel like doing the things. I don't want to do my IPA. If you've ever felt that in the chat, I'd love to hear, because I think that this is definitely something that we all will deal with. If you haven't dealt with it yet, I'm going to tell you right now, you're going to deal with it. So your why will keep you self-disciplined. If you've nailed down your why to be motivating enough. And I often think that we don't drill it down enough to actually have it be supporting us. You know what I mean? Chrissy said that she definitely has those micro quit days, and me too, same. So that's why we're kind of here to refocus on our why. Shh, okay, go buddy. So your why is, okay, buddy, pause it. Your why is, why are you here? So you need to start by, hold on. Sorry, I didn't want to hear you guys. I didn't want you all to hear me yelling at my son. I can't come with you. I'm doing my call. I can't. So your why is, sorry, he's afraid of like everything right now, so he can't go to the bathroom by himself anymore. So we had to bring the potty out here. Okay, we're rolling with it. Okay, so your why, you're asking yourself, why am I here? Okay, that's like the first step to it. Why are you here? Why do you want to make more money? Or why do I want to help people? That's like the first step. So I'm going to ask you that question, and I want you to write down in your phone or on a piece of paper, like your first gut reaction. When I say, why are you here? Just write down your gut reaction. What is the first thing that comes to mind when I say, why are you here? Write that down somewhere. Is anybody brave enough to unmute and share? Okay, I see Missy says, family freedom, college fund, new car. Anybody else want to share your gut reaction when I say, why are you here? Why do you want to make more money? Why do you want to help people? Share in the chat where you can unmute and share if you're brave enough.
I'm brave. So my why has always kind of been that I want to be able to make enough money to compensate for that, but then also be able to take my family on vacations together that we just never were able to do because of two teachers' incomes just never allowed that. So that's kind of been my why that pushes me.
Love it. Anybody else? Anybody else brave enough to share? You don't have to. Okay, so I want you to think about this. So when's the last time that you thought about the oxygen in this room right now? Does anybody think about the oxygen in the room? Like, as we know we need it, right? Does anybody think about it? When's the last time you thought about it? Probably never, unless like you just try to run a marathon or sprint or something, right? But if I came over to you and I choked you out, what do you think you would be thinking about if I was cutting off your oxygen supply? you would be thinking about how are you going to get air? How are you going to get oxygen? Like that would be the first thing you would think about, right? And so that's the same thing that we think that's the reason why like we think about money. There is not enough. The oxygen is free flowing, right? It's always available. So we don't think about it. We don't need it. But the only reason that we think about money or we think about, oh, I want to do this. I need to do this because I need more money. I need more this. I want or need, whatever, replace however you want, is because it's not free flowing. Money doesn't grow on trees, right, guys? Money is not free flowing. There's not enough of it in most people's lives. I would venture to guess that more than 95% of people want more money. It's not free flowing. We don't just get to not think about it, right? So here's where we kind of solve the problem by really digging into our why. If you can cut a check for a problem, is it a problem anymore? Probably not, right? Money doesn't solve everything, right? But if you just are like Christy just said, I want to take my family on vacation. If the money is free flowing like the oxygen is, and she can just go take her family, then that's not a problem anymore, right? And so this is where we really start having to dig into our why. We need to ask ourselves why so many times that it gets to a point where we can no longer solve the problem. And that is where we get to our why. If you've been around for a while, this is not the first time we've talked about 7 levels deep of a why, but it's so important to constantly revisit that why, because it changes, our focus or direction changes, or the original reason why we've already kind of started solving that problem. Does that make sense? So today we're going to go through this exercise again of kind of digging into our why. Now, I've heard people say, you'll know you've hit your why when you're emotional about it or when it makes you cry, okay? If you know me, you know I'm not a super emotional person. So I've never actually like cried from figuring out my why, but I have definitely gotten to the point where my heart starts to beat a little bit faster. Maybe it makes me feel not even anxious, but just like excited, nervous, bubbly energy, right? And it is the kind of thing that I will get out of bed for every single day. It doesn't have to be this great vision. I used to think that my why was that I wanted to be able to like open this after school program for underage kids and have them be able to, or underprivileged kids, not underage, underprivileged kids, and be able to let them come for free and have organic snacks and this and that, right? That's like my vision for my future. That's not my why. My why is going to be drilled very, very deep. So you've heard that word like niche and how we can drill it down, drill it down, drill it down. That's what we're going to do with our whys. Okay. So whatever you wrote down, I'm just going to share mine loud and proud. My first gut reaction was like, why am I doing this? My first reaction was to make more money, like plain and simple. I didn't start this. This is my personal, you all know this about me. I didn't start this to help other people. Do I enjoy that now? Heck yeah. But that's not why I started this. I started this. And what started getting me out of bed was I needed to make more money. I needed to have my products covered. I needed to make more money. Okay. So I'm going to go through this process. Whatever you wrote down, you're going to ask yourself the question, why, to that question. So I first asked you, why are you here? And you wrote something down. Now you're going to ask yourself, why, and you're going to fill in the blank with the above. So in my example, which was to make more money, I'm going to ask myself, why do I want to make more money? Okay. And I'm going to write down whatever comes next to my brain. Why do I want to make more money? You're going to ask yourself the same thing. So whatever you wrote down, why, fill in the blank with the above. Do we understand the assignment for that one? Okay, I'm going to give you like a minute and I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to mute myself too. Okay, I know that wasn't quite a minute, but did everyone have the chance to write down their second step? Does anybody want to share their second step?
I will.
Let's hear it.
So mine was to help support my family and be able to have more freedom.
That was your second or your first step?
Second,
Okay. So what was your first one that you had said? You wanted to make more money or something along
make
those
more
lines?
money.
Okay, cool. Thank you for sharing. Does anybody else want to share? Okay, I'll share mine. So, okay, go
Yeah.
ahead, Christy.
Okay, so my first one was to make money for family vacations. So then my next one is because I want my kids to make memories that they will remember as they all go about their way.
Love that. Love that so much. Anybody else? So I'll share mine. My first one, as you saw, was to make more money. Why do I want to make more money? To pay off debt and start saving money. Okay, so we're just going to follow this trajectory down. So now we're on the third level. So now we're going to ask ourselves the question. And I have found it actually helps if you say it out loud to yourself. So I'm like, Katie, why do you want to pay off debt and start saving? And I'm going to ask myself that question and I'm going to respond. Okay. Now, one thing that I have found to be easy is don't go back up to the top. Just go right, like don't go back, make more money. Because sometimes I start thinking about all the other things I want to do if I make more money. But if you kind of focus down, okay, I'm asking myself, Katie, why do you want to pay off debt and start saving? Okay, so ask yourself that question and then write it down. Okay, so that was our second, third why, asking yourself why. Does anybody want to share where they've gone from there?
I can share.
Let's hear it.
One of the reasons that I wanted more money was to stop watching my nephews. And then I said, why do I want to stop watching my nephews? For more freedom, more time freedom.
Yeah, you're getting there. So like then the next step is, why do I want more time freedom? And then the next step, so okay, so we're on asking ourselves, we're like at the third step. So now I want you to continue this, and I'm gonna like literally be quiet for like 5 minutes because I want you to continue this till you get to 7 levels deep. So we just finished our second, third. So now you're gonna ask yourself again, why? And then again, why? Until you have asked till you're 7 levels deep. Okay, so I'm literally gonna shut up until 122. Okay, and I want you to do that and write it down. Okay, do we need some more time, or has everybody been able to get to 7 levels? You guys are a lively bunch today. Does anybody feel moved to emotion or like nervousness or kind of excitedness, like when they got down to that like last level 6 or 7? Christy says yes. Sarah says yes. Everyone else has their cameras off. Boo. So this is the first time that I've actually done this where I got to something that was different. And I want to share it because it also has something to do with an activity. Okay, in a few minutes. With an activity that I recently did about for myself with diving into our core values. And I know that we've seen that like list floating around with like, you know, core values. This is something that I have recently, I always, you know, I skim read things. Sorry about the naked booty back there. I skim read things. And so when I've seen the list of core values, I always am like, this is a lot. This is gonna take too long. And I never really truly have like sat down and lived in like, what are my core values? My power partner challenged me to figure them out. Yeah, bud, bring it over here. And so I finally did. And I wrote down, I narrowed the list of like 60 down to 10. And then I narrowed that list of 10 down to 5. And then I wrote them on a big piece of paper and I sat with them in my house for like 4 days. And I narrowed that list of 5 down to 3. And then just as an experiment, I asked 3 people closest to me, so my mom, my husband, and my best friend, to look at the original list of 10 and to give me 3 to 5. I found it very interesting. So I had my list of 3. I gave them a list of 10. I found it very interesting because those 3 people all picked 2 that were the same, which also happened to be 2 that were on my list of 3. And the third, my husband and my mom picked the same third one. And my best friend picked a different third one that was almost a synonym to me. So anyways, it was a really cool activity, an exercise. And I'm going to put that list of values into Joy Leaders because I think it's a very valuable activity. Marissa and I kind of did this together with little cards when we were in Texas. But again, I was kind of like, I speed through stuff. I finally took the time to sit and do it. And the reason why I wanted to bring this up is because where I found my why today to lead me is exactly my top core value that I found, which is like really, this like actually makes me tear up a little bit because the whole exercise of doing this has really made me realize really why I'm doing Plexus. And my number 1 core value is family. And not just in the terms of like, I'm a mom and, you know, that's important to me. Of course it is, right? But my family and my kids' family and their future family. And that is really like my being. It's all of me. And so when I was digging down into my 7-layer why, where I ended is to have well-rounded children that are happy and pass on happy characteristics to their family unit, which is not how my family upbringing was. I mean, my mom is an amazing mom, but I had a turmoil. My dad is not a good person at all, my real dad. So I want that to be different for my children. And that is how I will live. Like that is me living in that core value of family. But what's interesting is if you were to look from number 1 to number 7, number 1 was I went from to make more money to creating well-rounded children that are able to pass their, you know, happiness to their family unit. Like that's a big difference, right? Even like for someone as red can be, where money is my thing. I love money. I love to talk about money. Making more money is not going to get me out of bed every day. But thinking about how I can create well-rounded children that truly are happy and experience a happy upbringing so that they cannot bring, you know, so that they don't bring traumatic experiences into their family unit like I did, you know, that is going to get me out of bed every day. And that is why we do these activities, because even along the way somewhere, like on the 4th one, my why was to buy a bigger house. That still isn't going to get me out of bed every day. but this one will. Does that make sense? So that's why we do this. Okay, so sometimes you may find that even number 7 doesn't get you there. So you might have to continue on. You might go 8 levels, 9 levels to keep asking yourself why. But when you feel like, okay, that is me, that's going to fire me up and that's going to motivate me, that when I look at these little kids and I think about how this is truly a catalyst for that, that's going to get me out of bed. That's going to get me to stay up late. That's going to get me to turn off the show. That's going to get me to say no to the barbecue because it's end of month or whatever, right? Okay. I highly encourage if you have anybody on your team or anybody who's maybe even thought about like, hey, what is this Plexus thing? Or how could I do it? This is an activity I would do with them. I'd be like, well, why are you interested in it? And they're like, I don't know, it'd be cool to make more money. Okay, why? You know, like you can do this with them, with someone who's interested in maybe doing this as a business. Okay. Last thing, like I said, I'm going to put this core values. They're not directly related, but I do think it's really valuable. I'm going to put this in the Joy Leaders thread because I do think it's very valuable to start. So here's what I did. They're in alphabetical order. I read them with I had a big piece of paper like this, and I read them. And as I was reading them, anything that slightly, like I was like, yeah, that's me. I just wrote it down. Okay. And I originally ended up with 10. You may end up with like more than 10. My husband had like 20 when he first started. And then I looked at that list and I wrote it down. And this was over a few days. Like I would walk away from it and come back to it. And then I'd be like, oh no, I feel like I'm more about achievement than I am about success. Or I feel like I'm more about this than I am about that. And that's kind of how I narrowed mine down. So definitely an activity I would also encourage you to do. The reason why it's so valuable is because now that I know my core values, that's how I'm posting. I want somebody else who cares about family and achievement and leadership. Those are my 3 core values. That's the kind of people I want to surround myself with, right? Because those are what I live in. Like those are the things that are the most important to me. And that's why this is such a valuable activity. So, yes. Okay. I'm going to stop recording now because I don't